Coming live from the neighborhood, you are listening to Hapi Hood The Podcast, where we deliver meaningful content to inspire, uplift, and empower. Hey neighbor, it's your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray, lifestyle coach with a passion for helping others embrace self-worth and live a life of fulfillment. Welcome to the neighborhood. It's Hapi Hood The Podcast.
Finish
Message.
what you start.
Let's go. Welcome back to the neighborhood. Welcome to Hapi Hood The Podcast, Monday Leadership. This is where we take a moment to build today's habits for a successful tomorrow. Because we all know, we all understand, we all have embraced the idea that leadership is not a title, but rather a choice. It's a choice that's rooted in our daily habits, our behaviors, to lead with humility, to drive change, to overcome oppositions, to truly be the leader that we have all been called to be. What's going on, family? My name is Jay Murray. I'm your favorite neighbor. And, you know, one of the greatest advice I received early in my career was that great leaders are great followers. To be a great leader is to be a great follower. And family, when I think about that, and as I was preparing and for this episode and just kind of thinking about what we should or what I was going to discuss, that's one thing that has truly been a common theme in my life, no matter the arena that I'm in. Whether it is my work, corporate America, whether it is my entrepreneurial journey, whether it's parenting or my marriage, great leaders are also great followers. So today we're going to be discussing the concept, this whole paradox theme, this leadership paradox of why the best leaders are followers. Okay. And what are some of the habits that we all can practice to have this idea of following first? Okay. And what are some of the results or downfalls of when we follow from an area of emotion, ego, pride? What are some of those falls or downfalls when we do that, when we come from a level of immaturity, when it comes to our ability and our willingness to submit to others, to submit to the process, to submit to the purpose, to submit to the vision? Before I do that, hey, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so you can always be in the know when new episodes are coming out, as well as new content. And hey, leave me a comment. Let me know what resonates with you. When you think about great leadership, what certain things that you think about. If you have any questions, definitely leave me a comment. And hey, do me also a favor. Go ahead and share this. Share this with others. As you know, it really helps out. So when you think about the leadership paradox of why the best leaders follow first, I think about it from the idea or this I don't know, the cultural view of leadership, right? And this misconception that leadership, great leadership, is exhibited by being the loudest person in the room, being the smartest person in the room. It's from a area of dominance. How dominant are you? Are you the alpha dog, in the room? And the reality of that, and when I think about my own leadership journey and the areas of leadership that I have observed, the ones that I have observed and follow all had a common theme around their ability to demonstrate courage, their ability to demonstrate a level of humility and vulnerability, their ability to have emotional discipline, to understand the importance of, let me be a follower in this situation, in this circumstance, in this season, in this meeting. Let me be a follower first. Because when you're able to follow first, there's some couple skills, deep skills, I believe you're able to develop. One, you're able to develop empathy. You're able to understand what it's like to be led. What it's like to be led. So you're able to develop empathy for that leader, right? And extend grace. As I said, hey, there's no perfect leader. We're all striving to be great and to be great within um our own space, within our own ability, right? And developing that level of empathy to truly understand what it is like to be led. What is it like uh, to be a follower, right? What is it like to have the, what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily the encouragement, but to have the responsibility, to have the admiration to be led by others. Okay. The other thing is it develops discipline. It develops discipline to understand you can follow a structure before leading one, or understanding how to follow a structure before leading one. When you are a follower and you're a great follower that leads to you being a great leader, you're developing and observing what are the discipline that we need to develop, that I need to develop, and the structure, the framework, the value that I want to make sure I emulate as a leader. So as a follower, you can follow a structure that helps you to develop the discipline, the framework. What is your approach, right? That you're not just, taking your leadership approach just out of what you want to do. It's not driven by your own ego, your own pride, your own, emotions, but it's driven by discipline, right? It's driven by discipline. And then lastly, when you are able to, as a follower, and how it helps you with adaptability. It helps you to understand and learn when you need to pause, when you need to pivot, or when you need to lead. When you need to pause, pivot, when you need to lead. So again, this idea around the misconception that you have to be the loudest one, you have to be the smartest one, you have to lead with a area of dominance. By doing that, you miss the opportunity of developing to a true great leader, to develop the empathy, to develop the discipline, to develop the adaptability, to allow yourself to submit to the people, to the process, to the vision, to the mission, to the purpose. And I have like two stories I want to share with you on, because this area, or this idea of great leadership, right? To be a great leader is to be a great follower. I mean, in a perfect world, everyone would do that. Everyone, yes, I want to be a great leader. So let me be a great follower. But when you think about, hey, being a great leader is to have a level of submission to the people, to the process, to the purpose, to the vision. Family, I don't always do all four of those things. right. I don't always do that in a submissive way. I don't always do that in a submissive way. And there has been times where I have done that and they have yielded great results. So the first story, and it's not necessarily a story, I think more of an observation and awareness that I have recently seen when it comes to, hey, great leaders are also great followers. And it comes to from perspective of submitting to the process. Now, I have said this countless of times in which you all know outside of what I do, I enjoy coaching my kids. I enjoy encouraging them. I enjoy building them up. Right now they are athletes, and I think being an athlete, you're able to learn so much different things that are just simply life lessons. So both of them are in track, and there's times, even this week, I had to kind of pause that adaptability and had to kind of like practice some self-awareness. It's like, hey, am I putting unrealistic expectations on my kids? This idea, or unintentionally, this thing that, hey, they going to the Olympics tomorrow. Come on. They going to the Olympics tomorrow. Am I putting unrealistic expectations on them? That am I so much overcorrecting them that they now have developed or seem to have a challenge when it comes to overcoming challenges because they have a fear of failing? And that's what I was thinking about, family. I mean, I'm again being very transparent that, again, to be a great leader is to be a great follower. And you may not have an issue with submitting to when you think about submitting to people, the process, the purpose, the vision. Out of those areas, it may not be hard for you to submit to the people, especially when you think about from a linear perspective of, hey, my manager, there's a level of seniority that comes with that to where, yes, I submit to that, right? And submitting to people, that's not hard, right? But when it comes to when you have to submit to these intangible things, these things that are very abstract, somewhat in nature, to where you have to submit to the process. And that, as I was thinking about that and practicing some self-awareness as I was doing preparing for this episode, it's like, wow, yeah, I could be a better follower when it comes to submitting to the process, of allowing my kids to grow, to allowing my kids to develop, right? I'm developing them into great athletes. I'm developing them to productive citizens. I'm developing a growth mindset into them. That doesn't mean that they're going to have a growth mindset tomorrow. you know, that doesn't mean that they're going to be a top athlete tomorrow. It's a process. And I have to submit to the process. And again, we think about the benefits of being a follower, a great follower, to be a great leader, that adaptability. Understand, hey, let's pause. I need to pivot my approach. I need to pivot my approach because I don't want to run the risk of me overcorrecting them, that they now develop a fear of trying new things because they are so afraid of failing. Right. And that thought came in my mind, and I had to kind of check myself. And even as I was talking to my son about, hey, is it too much? I'm asking you, and he told me no. But again, it was just a good check, right? And hopefully it was truthful, right? The other part of this where I have developed or I have utilized the concept of following first, and how it has yielded great results. So when I was a team, I was leading a team. One thing that I observed from one of my peers, and which again I think is great. Sometimes the mentorship doesn't always have to be someone above you. You can be mentored. Look for mentorships also with your peers, those that do a better job than you in certain areas, right? And this individual was one. I mean, he was really great at developing or fostering psychological safety in on his team. And one thing I had an opportunity to observe one of his one-on-ones as he was, when your personal time that you have with individuals on your team, he would ask, he would be intentional about having a section, or making sure that he had time enough within that one-on-one to ask two questions. One, what feedback you have for me, and what feedback you have for the team. And I thought that was like, wow. One, to show that humility in that somewhat intimate setting, was just outstanding, right? Like, what better time to show a level of humility than in a setting like that, to where it's already one-on-one, it's already personal, right? And when I start incorporating that into my one-on-ones, it especially helped those individuals on my team that were, somewhat reserved, right? They wouldn't be the ones that always would provide the feedback in the team meeting, or the ones, that the loudest ones, which again is nothing wrong with being the loudest ones. But they at times would reserve, or they will kind of pick and choose when is a good time to offer up their suggestions or recommendations. And when I started doing it to everyone, I mean, especially to those that were, always didn't always offer their recommendation, or was kind of strategic in the way that they offered it, it gave them an opportunity to really just, okay, in this setting, to have some psychological safety, provide feedback to myself. Okay, hey, Murray, here's what you can do better, and here's how I will implement it. Hey, here's what the team can do better. And as I did that, it just developed. We just had a better uh, team uh, culture, more collaboration. It helped to really have this open door, or this open policy, or this, I won't say open policy, but just psychological safety. Hey, we can approach each other, and we can demonstrate a level of humility, and we can be active listeners, right? To actively listen to what the others have to say, and to take their consideration and recommendation seriously. So those, again, two areas where, again, when you think about following, and great leaders become great leaders, is to be a great leader is to be a great follower. Again, there's some areas of your followership that you may be falling short. So it's not to say, hey, everyone does this great, everyone does this perfectly. No, in submitting to the people, to the process, to the vision, sometimes that takes you having the ability to demonstrate, okay, self-awareness, to demonstrate some courage, some empathy, some adaptability, and some discipline, to say, okay, here's where I can get better at. Here's where I can get better at. Now, when you think about the downfall, when we don't do that, when we are leading from a place, we're leading from a place of fear, insecurity. We're leading from a place of anxiety. When we're leading from a place where our emotions are not in check. When we do that, we project fear, insecurity on our team, on our family, on our kids, on our marriage, to where the outcomes that you will see, especially when you have a team that there's just a lack of trust on the team. There's a lack of trust on the team, and to where everything is now done in silos, and everything is very, there's this territorialism that is over the team, that no one really helps out with each other. There's a lack of collaboration. Everyone is just concerned within their own turf, because there's no unified purpose for everyone to submit. And if the top is not practicing and leading by example and submitting themselves to the purpose, to the people, to the process, then we run the risk of having a dysfunctional team. A dysfunctional team, we run the risk of, when we project fear and insecurity, we run the risk of having others trying to carry our emotion. We run the risk of blame shifting. We run the risk of not taking ownership and accountability when things don't go smooth. When things don't go smooth. And again, that doesn't just play out in the corporate world, but it also plays out in the marriage. When you're having a marriage and there's a level of trust, when it becomes a level of like a level of trust, then there's a lack of intimacy. And that's not just sexually, but that's also emotionally, physically, and so it's not just physically, but also emotionally, mentally. So there's now becomes a power struggle. There now becomes a connecting issue. There's a lack of connection with our spouses. So now, because either one of us are not able to submit ourselves, and again, that's not just for the wife, right? That's not. I'm just not saying it just from a biblical perspective, but also to men. Sometimes as men, we need to submit ourselves to the vision, to the purpose that God has given over our family. Our family vision is to allow God to be the center of our love and aspirations. Well, as the head of the household, which I believe men are, then it is my responsibility is to submit myself to that plan, to submit myself to God, right? And that means that, hey, I can't be having a unforgiveness heart. I have to forgive. I can't have a certain attitude, or to say, hey, things have to go this way, or have this type of control over my family. No, I have to submit. I have to submit to my family. I have to submit sometimes to my kids, of like, okay, yeah, you know what? That's a better idea than I had. I have to show some humility. You know what? You were right. You were right in that I was wrong. Okay. Boom, bam, boom. 1 point for you. You know what I'm saying? But again, that of itself shows that just in a marriage is, I mean, not just in corporate setting, but also in a marriage, there's a level of submission. As parents, we can't have a controlling behavior. We can't have a controlling behavior and have a level or show emotional shutdown in our children, especially when opposition comes up, or when they challenge us with their own thoughts, right? Especially as my kids become more older and now having a teenager, they're coming to their own person. They're coming to their personality and the way they're thinking, and just their own view on things. And we can't just be so controlling and so dogmatic in our own theories and our own beliefs that we just disregard them. No, sometimes we have to submit to their understanding. As you think about those benefits, we have to demonstrate empathy to understand, okay, let me be led by them. Let me be led by them. And let me take a back seat and listen to them, and take their voice into consideration. Take those voices into consideration. So again, those are just some of the downfalls when we missed the opportunity to follow first. We miss the opportunity to submit to the people, to the process, the purpose, to the vision, to have the courage to follow first, to demonstrate the empathy, the level of empathy, to be disciplined around a framework, and to show adaptability, to pause, to pivot. So what are some habits? What are some habits that we can develop around helping ourselves develop into a better follower? What's some habits that we can develop? Well, there's a couple. The first one is we can ask more than we can ask more than you answer. So in other words, we can ask questions. I think there's a level of curiosity that is a benefit as a follower. There's a level of when we, especially when we're put into a formal leadership, instead of having all the answers, ask the questions. Ask the questions. So ask more than you answer. ask the question to get a better understanding or to allow others to provide their viewpoint, to provide their viewpoint to help you get a better perspective, right? And for them to feel valuable and to understand that no, you're not the smartest person in the room, that hey, you can ask questions. Another great advice that I got is know what you know what you don't know, and know when to ask. Know what you know what you don't know, and know when to ask. Great followers that become great leaders know when to ask. Know to They know when to practice a level of adaptability. So you say, you know what? Let me pause. Let me pivot, and let me go ask. Let me go ask. So ask more than you answer. The second is seek mentorship, seek feedback. As I said before, you don't always have to look for mentorship as, looking for the most, senior person. Sometimes I think we miss out on mentorship from our peers. Mentorship from someone that's, may not from a level maybe below us, right? Especially when it comes to areas of our own development or areas where we have skill gaps. Where you have skill gaps, go develop a mentorship with someone. Go seek feedback. Go gain a better perspective from someone, whether it's your peer or whether it's someone that's younger than you. That's how you develop that discipline to understand the structure. Like, what is the structure that they are doing to help them develop into that skill? What is the structure that they're doing that is driving these type of results that I'm looking for? Develop, excuse me, seek feedback, get peer mentorship. The next is practice servant leadership daily. Practice servant leadership daily. Servant leadership can look different in a lot of many ways, but when I think about it, is what you can do for others, right? What you can do for others, whether that is, hey, removing a roadblock on your team, whether that is understanding your spouse's love language, you know, and especially if they like acts of service, right? You've been a servant leader to them. Whether it is, there's been times where my daughter, she will have a track meet. We get back late. You say, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna wash the dishes for you. I'm gonna do your chores so you can go and do your homework. So you won't be up so late. It's just doing for others, doing for others, and helping them become better, right? Helping them become better. Again, leadership, as we go back to this misconception, leadership is not always you got to be in the front line. Is can you lead in the front of the line? Can you lead in the middle of the line, in the middle of the pack? Can you lead in the back of the line? And sometimes a servant leader is taking a step back so others can continue to shine, others can continue to thrive. So practice servant leadership daily. What can I do for others? Like one other thing is remain teachable, open to correction. Again, seek feedback. Remain teachable, man. Remain having that level of people can teach you things. That again, you're not the smartest person in the room, that people can teach you their perspective. You can learn different things from their perspective. Is having that level of curiosity, right? Having that level of curiosity to continue to gain better insights. Okay. And lastly, lead with vision, not your ego. Lead with vision, not your ego. As I said before, when I think about my family, when I think about my role as head of this household, it is important for me to lead with the vision and submit myself to the vision that God has put on our family, or has given my family, right? And when I do that, I remove my ego. I remove my pride. I remove my own wants. And I look at the bigger picture. Okay. How can I give God the glory in this? How can I continue to allow God to be the center of my love, of our love as a family and aspirations? How can I continue to do that? Lead with vision. Submit to the vision, not your ego. Okay. So when you do that, you're able to build the habits to be successful tomorrow. Because we all know that leadership is not a title, it's a choice. It's a choice that we make on a daily basis. Till next time, family, love God, love yourself, love your neighbor. I'm your favorite neighbor, Jay Murray. Be blessed.